This is American Dreams, a program where we interview thought leaders and entrepreneurs and bring their ideas to you in real-world context. Welcome to today's show. I'm visiting here today with Al Schmeiser. Al, it's good to have you with us.
Great to be here, Alan. Thank you.
So, Al, can you tell us about your life of what brought you up to where you are today and a little bit about some of the challenges and successes you had along the way?
I don't want to go back too far, but to get a little perspective on my life, as my mom explained it to me, I was about 9 months old when she woke up one morning and heard me crying in the next room. My bedroom was right next to my mom and dad's. And, she figured needs to be fed or something like that. And when she came in, she realized that my hip was swollen probably about twice the size of what it should have been. And I was in a lot of pain. She had no idea what was wrong. She took me in her arms. Mom and dad and my brother and sister rushed to the hospital. And they first came in and told my mom, "We think your son has leukemia," which at that time was a death sentence. There was no treatment. And so obviously, they were very upset. And shortly thereafter, the doctor came back in and said, we found he doesn't have leukemia. He has somewhat of a rare disease called hemophilia, where his clotting time is less than 1% of normal. And so as difficult as that was to hear, it was certainly better than the first diagnosis. And my mom apparently asked him just one question, and that is, can he live? And the doctor told her, yes, he can live, but there are going to be a lot of problems. And right now, life expectancy for a child with hemophilia, whose clotting time is less than 1% of normal, is about 11 years old. And so that started us down the road. Infusions, hospital visits, ice bags, swollen joints. I had a tracheostomy when I was 1.5 years old, first one they ever did on Hemophiliac, as a last-ditch attempt to save my life. And, a lot of great people. Dr. Sherman was an intern then and literally spent a couple of days sleeping in my room, draining my lungs and feeding me through a straw. And it went on. Eye bleed at 5 years old, lost the sight in my right eye, spleen bleed at 17, almost died. My hematologist, Dr. Bachman, literally saved my life. And then in the 80s, a lot of hemophiliacs were infected with HIV from blood infusions. And about 50% of them were infected, and thousands died. Finally, about 15 years ago, from the blood infusions, I had hepatitis C, which attacked my liver and led to cirrhosis. Imagine this, most people, children, you're born, you grow up, you don't expect pain, you don't expect a lot of suffering. Yeah, you get hurt. I mean, that happens to everybody, but you've got this view that, you're going to be relatively healthy and, and have a hopefully pain-free life. And so when you do run into challenges and struggles, it's kind of a shock because, I heard one time that pain is the difference between expectations and reality. So you expect this wonderful life. And I think everybody does that. They're hoping for this wonderful life, but then they get hit with challenges and that causes pain because it's not expected. Well, that's not the life of a hemophiliac. Okay. You grow up knowing your life is going to involve pain. It's going to involve suffering. It's going to involve disappointments. And so you have a choice. You can either let that kind of crush you down, become bitter, why me, or you have to learn how to deal with that. And you have to start seeing your challenges. And this is part of my real message. You have to see your challenges as opportunities to grow. We all go through things maybe we're exercising and it hurts to exercise, but we want it because we want to be healthy. Maybe we eat food we don't like, but we know it's good for us. We do all these things to try to get some benefit at the end. Well, when you see your struggles and your challenges as an opportunity, okay, if I'm having a great time at a party and I've got a smile on my face, that's nice, but it's kind of expected. But if I'm in a hospital bed and I'm in pain and I have treatments and I still have a smile on my face, that changes who you are. That changes your heart. And that's kind of the second part of what I came to. Was the first was trying to deal with the fact that my life was going to involve struggles, a good number of them. Okay. And the second part was, once I've got that maybe handled and seeing those as opportunities and accomplishments that I can do, then how do I really feel the fulfillment and the joy of life? And that came down to an experience I had. I mentioned that I had a liver transplant. My blood type is AB. I was at Mayo Clinic in Arizona, and the odds of getting an AB liver they got about 1 or 2 a year. Because it had to be a match. And I needed mine within a week. I was very close to death. And I came to a realization at that point, because I was facing death very closely, that the things that I was going to take with me when I died, that would go with me over to the other side, I have a belief of what that is based on my religious beliefs. But whatever you believe it is, what's going to go with you? Obviously, it wasn't my house, wasn't my car, wasn't any of the physical things, wasn't my body, But I came to a deep understanding that what was going to go with me was the state of my heart, who I was, and the relationships that I had developed while I was here on earth. And those became the most important things. Think for a minute, if you will. What kind of person is this? They are kind-hearted, warm-hearted, big-hearted. They're pure-hearted. Is that person smiling? Yeah, that's a happy person with that kind of heart. What about a person whose heart is hard-hearted, cold-hearted, downhearted? Is that person smiling? No, that person's not smiling. The state of your heart determines your ability to be happy. And so those are the things that I learned. And when you make decisions in your life in order to take care of your heart, you can be happy no matter what struggles you're facing. It's a matter of literally deciding, who do I want to be? What kind of heart do I want to take with me into the next life?
Yeah, it's great advice, Al, especially when we live in a world of constant change and people seek for the normal, right? There was a normal of the past, there's a new normal. And it's a struggle for many to find what that normalcy is. But I think you've hit it right on the head of you work life backwards and you say, what do I want to take with me into the next life if it has nothing to do with my material goods? How do you measure foundation? You seem very grounded, but what are some of the things that you do to ensure that you have a solid foundation in life and that you can navigate your course to the futures of uncertainty?
It's kind of like anything else. You do it once and it's not, you have a challenge and you kind of handle it okay. You get a little more confidence, and then other challenges come and you start applying that principle of, how can I approach this in a happy, positive way? How can I, if I've just had, let me give you a perfect example. I talked about my liver donor, Courtney. Courtney was 17 years old. She wanted to go to a party. Her mom didn't want her to go. They had a fight. Courtney left, found another ride to the party. Somebody at the party gave her some drugs, Oxycontin, and she tried it. She snorted it. She went into the bedroom and lay down later because she was tired, and it shut down her nervous system. She stopped breathing. Courtney's mom, Cindy, got that call that all of us would ever dread, that her daughter was at Phoenix Children's Hospital and on life support. She rushed to the hospital to get the news that there was no brain activity. They then told her that there was somebody 18 miles away dying of liver disease, and that her daughter's blood type was AB, and it was a match. And in the midst of that pain, Cindy chose to allow her daughter to be a liver donor, which saved my life and kept me around for my family and enabled me to do things that I've been able to do. You know, if Cindy, finding out that her only daughter just died, can make a decision to give life to somebody else, I can certainly address the challenges I have and make a decision to give life and give happiness and uplift and edify, you know. And in turn, what I get back is I get a joyful heart and I get a deep-seated happiness. You know, a lot of that for me is based in my religious beliefs. But for those who don't have those, it's still very much possible. It's kind of a law of nature. If you're doing things to make your heart soft, pure, giving, loving, okay, and you do it through service, through acts of kindness, through generosity, through a smile, okay, for somebody who's downtrodden, you in turn are going to be a happy person. And people be amazed at how resilient you are, that when troubles strike you, that you're able to handle them and come away with a smile because you've inbred that into your heart, that that's how you deal with life. And it shows, and you can, you know, it affects your family, your children. You know, I was thinking about this interview and I was on the phone with one of my sons and I said, so I'm going to do this interview and this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about. I said, what do you think about me? And it was a little scary. And I didn't know what he was going to say. But I have a good relationship with my kids. And he said, Dad, he goes, you're genuinely polite. And I said, okay. He goes, you're kind. He goes, you just make the mood better. He goes, you do things with a smile. I wrote him down so I wouldn't forget. He goes, you do things with a smile. He goes, you look at things from a positive point of view. He goes, no matter how bad they are. He goes, and when you're positive about things, it changes everything. So that was his takeaway. And I think it's pretty accurate, and it could be accurate for anybody. You know, there are people who've gone through worse than I have. There are people who haven't gone through nearly what I have. It doesn't matter where you are, okay? If you can express a kind heart to other people, you in return will find a level of joy and happiness, regardless of your circumstances, that is amazing, is absolutely amazing.
Al, it's very inspiring. And I appreciate you being with us on the show today. You know, hearing the story of that the adversity and the challenges are set behind you, and you move to look at life with a bright outlook, being positive, and accepting what's handed to you. I think it will be inspiring for many people as they go through their own challenges, look at themselves and say, hey, this is nothing compared to what others are going through. And I appreciate you sharing this message with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it is my belief that if people listen, some may say listen to the spirit, some may listen to your conscience. But if they listen and think, how should I respond to this? My wife's upset, my children's having a struggle. How do I respond? If they think quietly and listen and respond with some of those heart features I talked about, they'll find the joy and happiness, and they'll be a blessing in other people's lives more than they could ever imagine.